The fall of Publius Quinctilius Varus, and the recovery of the bodies, a tale of tragedy and legacy. I, Publius Quinctilius Varus, stand at the head of my legions, my thoughts heavy with the responsibility placed upon me by Rome. I have been entrusted with the task of consolidating Roman rule in Germania, a region beyond the Rhine, a land of untamed tribes that resist the might of our empire. It is my mission to secure Roman dominance in these distant territories, to extend our borders, and to bring peace to the region by bringing these wild lands under the empire's control. I am no stranger to command. I have served in various military capacities, rising through the ranks with the respect of my peers. I have been appointed governor of the province of Syria, where I demonstrated my ability to deal with insurgents and keep order in the volatile eastern territories. My reputation is one of competence and strength, qualities that made me the perfect candidate to oversee Rome's expansion into Germania. I am given command of 3 Roman legions, the Legio 17, Legio 18, and Legio 19, totaling approximately 20,000 soldiers, plus auxiliary forces. The legions are disciplined, the soldiers are hardened, and we march with the might of Rome's centuries-old military prowess. We follow the Rhine River northward, into the dense forests of Germania, on the orders of Emperor Augustus himself. However, there is an undercurrent of unease in the air. The people of Germania are fierce and stubborn, and the tribes here have a reputation for resisting Roman authority. Yet, I believe firmly in Roman strength, and our ability to pacify the region. I have heard tales of Arminius, the Germanic prince who was raised among the Romans, and fought alongside us as a Roman officer. He is familiar with Roman tactics, and his knowledge of the land is invaluable. I trust him. The journey progresses uneventfully until we approach the Teutoburg forest, a vast and thickly wooded area that stretches between the Weser and Elbe rivers. This is where our fate will unfold, a place where Roman military precision will clash with the unforgiving wilderness and guerrilla tactics of the Germanic tribes. Unbeknownst to me, Arminius, the very man I trust most, has secretly aligned himself with the Germanic tribes. He is no longer the Roman soldier I believed him to be. He has betrayed us. Arminius, along with his newfound allies, the Cherusei, Chatti, Bructeri, and other tribes, has set the stage for one of the most devastating defeats in Roman history. I am unaware of the trap unfolding around me. We march deeper into the forest, believing it to be just another stretch of land to pass through. The legions are strung out, vulnerable, with no anticipation of an ambush. Then, the silence of the forest is shattered as Arminius's forces strike. The first wave comes from the trees. Germanic warriors, skilled in guerrilla tactics, armed with axes and spears, emerge from the forest with terrifying speed. The battle is chaotic. Roman discipline, which has long been the key to our victories, falters in the dense woods. The enemy attacks from all sides, and the terrain makes it impossible for us to form proper lines of defense. The Germanic tribes are masters of this landscape, while we are encumbered by our heavy armor and marching formations. We are caught in a vice. The forest becomes a death trap. There is no open field for our soldiers to rally and fight, as we are accustomed to. The Germans strike and retreat into the trees, cutting down Roman soldiers with brutal efficiency, only to vanish before we can retaliate. The situation is desperate. The legions are overwhelmed, their discipline shattered in the face of this ambush. The Germanic forces are too numerous, too familiar with the land. I try to rally my soldiers, to bring some semblance of order, but it is clear, the battle is lost. The enemy presses in from every direction, and my legions are breaking under the pressure. The Legio 19, which I had hoped would form the backbone of our defense, is completely overrun, its soldiers massacred. As I command what remains of my forces to retreat, the horror of betrayal hits me. Arminius, my trusted officer, has led us to our doom. The man who fought beside us, who knew our ways and our strategies, has turned his back on Rome. His Germanic tribesmen fight with rage and conviction, knowing they are avenging their own people by breaking the Roman Empire's advance into their lands. My mind is clouded with the shock of betrayal and the realization that there is no escape. The battle has devolved into a slaughter, and soon, retreat is no longer an option. The remnants of my legions are cut off, isolated in the forest. I am now a prisoner of the chaos I had once believed I could control. In the final moments, I see the full scale of the disaster. My soldiers are dead or dying. Legio 17, the pride of Rome, lies in ruins. Legio 18 is shattered. The loss is catastrophic, not just of men, but of honor. The Empire will never forget this humiliation. This is not a simple defeat, it is the collapse of Roman power in Germania. With the battlefield lost, I realize the depth of my failure. I have led my men into oblivion, and there is no way to reverse it. There will be no escape from the shame. I cannot allow myself to face capture, to be paraded through the lands that once praised my name. I am alone now, surrounded by the devastation of my own making. The decision is clear. I must die with honor, before the Romans learn of the full extent of my failure. I take my sword and fall upon it, ending my life in the very land I sought to conquer. The news of my death spreads back to Rome, where the Senate and the Emperor receive the grim tidings. My name, once associated with Roman victories, is now forever tied to one of the most catastrophic defeats in Roman history. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest will be remembered not for my valor or my leadership, but for the bitter loss of 3 entire legions, the collapse of Roman ambition in Germania, and the irreparable betrayal by the man I once trusted. Publius Quinctilius Varus, the man who led Rome's legions into the heart of Germania, is now known as the man who lost them all. The Roman dream of conquest in the east has been shattered, and in the quiet forests of Germania, my name will forever echo with the sounds of defeat. As I, Publius Quinctilius Varus, fall upon my sword, ending my life in the dense, shadowed forests of Germania, the fate of my soldiers is sealed as well. The 3 Roman legions under my command, Legio 17, Legio 18, and Legio 19, are completely annihilated in what would become one of the greatest humiliations Rome had ever faced. I know this is not just a defeat, but a blow to the Roman Empire itself. The Emperor Augustus, the Senate, and all of Rome will learn of this catastrophe, and my name will be cursed for eternity. The battle ends in blood and silence, and the Germanic tribes, victorious and brutal, drag the fallen Roman soldiers away into the forest. The bodies of my men, once proud soldiers of the Empire, now lie scattered like broken leaves under the canopy of trees. The victorious tribes strip their corpses of armor, weapons, and valuables, leaving only the ravaged remnants of what were once highly trained, disciplined warriors. For Arminius, the architect of this betrayal, the victory is bitter. His revenge against Rome has been accomplished, but it comes at a cost. The forest, once a place of power and glory for the Roman legions, now bears witness to the fall of Rome's eastern ambitions. But even in defeat, Rome's sense of order and justice is unyielding. The Emperor Augustus cannot, and will not, allow this grave dishonor to go unnoticed. The recovery of the bodies. Months pass. The Germans celebrate their victory, but word reaches Rome of the scale of the disaster. Augustus sends a delegation, led by one of Rome's most esteemed generals, to recover the remains of the fallen soldiers. They are tasked with ensuring that at least the bodies of the slain Roman soldiers are given the dignity of proper burial, a gesture of respect, even in defeat. The journey to the site of the massacre is long and arduous. The Germanic tribes, having stripped the bodies of valuables, have left them scattered throughout the forest. The remains of the 3 legions lie in disarray, many partially buried by the forest floor itself, others carried away by the wild creatures of the forest. The Roman recovery party, with the solemn authority of the emperor behind them, carefully gathers what remains they can. Bones, tattered remnants of armor, and broken shields are painstakingly collected and placed into carts, while the stories of the battle's horrors begin to echo through the air. Among the remains, there are no signs of the distinctive formations that had once defined Roman legions. What once stood as an impenetrable force has now become a tragic reminder of the perils of overconfidence and the failure to understand one's enemy. The return to Rome. After months of recovery, the remains of the soldiers, over 20,000 men, are brought back to Rome, but the mission is not without its costs. The Roman officials and soldiers who undertake the mission are shaken by the horror they witness. The sight of so many broken, dismembered bodies, soldiers who had once fought with the very might of Rome, leaves them marked. It is said that many of them could not shake the haunting images of the battlefield, and that the journey back to Rome felt longer than it truly was. Upon their arrival, the remains are processed and carefully prepared for the burial. There is no grand procession or celebration, only the heavy silence of those who understand the gravity of the loss. Publius Quinctilius Varus, his once proud name now synonymous with failure, is among those returned to Rome. His remains, though largely unrecoverable, are carefully preserved, and the remains of his soldiers are prepared for a burial befitting their station. The final burial. The Emperor Augustus, though devastated by the loss, decrees that the remains of Varus and his men be given a proper burial in accordance with Roman traditions. A funeral pyre is constructed for the fallen general, and a small, private ceremony is held at the Field of Mars, a sacred location in Rome. Here, Varus's remains are cremated, his ashes sent to a small family tomb. But the story does not end with his death. The burial of the remains of the three legions, Legio 17, Legio 18, and Legio 19, takes place in a massive, solemn ceremony held in the heart of the city. A monument is erected in their honor, not as a symbol of victory, but as a grim reminder of the price of ambition and the fragility of empire. The names of the fallen are engraved on stones, their sacrifice etched in the history of Rome. It is said that Augustus himself attended the funeral, though his face betrayed none of the personal emotions that must have stirred within him. There is no public speech to accompany the ceremony, no grand statements of glory. Only the silence of an empire in mourning. The burial is a symbol of Rome's resilience, even in the face of such a staggering loss. The Teutoburg forest, which had once been the site of Roman pride, is now a symbol of caution. The great power of Rome has been humbled. The shadow of the Germanic tribes now hangs over the empire, a reminder that even the mightiest civilizations can fall. Legacy and memory. As time passes, the story of the Battle of Teutoburg Forest becomes legend. Scholars and historians write of the tragic fall of Varus and his legions, immortalizing their names in the annals of Roman history. It becomes a cautionary tale, a reminder of the perils of overconfidence, of the cost of ignoring local knowledge, and the strength of those who resist Roman domination. But for me, Publius Quinctilius Varus, it is a tragic end to what could have been a legacy of conquest. My name, once spoken with pride, now echoes in the halls of Rome with the sting of failure. My burial is but the final act of a man who sought to expand the empire, only to fall victim to betrayal, hubris, and the unforgiving forests of Germania. And so it is that the Battle of Teutoburg Forest remains one of the most significant moments in Roman history, a moment that shaped the future of the empire. For as long as the empire endures, the legacy of this defeat will echo through the ages, a reminder of the fragility of power, and the determination of those who fight for their freedom.